How safe do you feel in your own neighborhood? You go about your daily life, working, caring for family, making plans for the future, never expecting that danger could be just around the corner. But what if the very thing you fear most isn't just a possibility, but an inevitability? Sierra Jamison was a woman with a plan. At 30 years old, she had worked tirelessly to provide for her 6-year-old son, a child with special needs who had already faced more than his fair share of hardships. She had built a life for herself, fought through challenges, and was on the verge of something new: nursing school, a fresh start, a brighter future. But in August of 2023, a random act of violence changed everything. An attempted carjacking left her shaken but determined. She spoke out about it, warning others about the dangers women, especially black women, face every day. She survived that attack, but something else was waiting. Just weeks later, Sierra was gone. Her body was found in a garage near her home, strangled and hidden under a tarp. The person responsible wasn't a stranger. It was someone she knew, someone she trusted. How does a woman who fought so hard to protect herself end up becoming a victim anyway? And why does it feel like stories like hers are ignored until it's too late? Stay with me as we unravel the heartbreaking story of Sierra Jamison, a woman whose tragic fate left an entire community searching for answers. And tell me in the comments, do you think crimes against black women get the attention they deserve? Chicago, Illinois, a city known for its resilience, its vibrant communities, and its struggles. It was here that Sierra Jamison built her life. She was a woman with purpose, a mother with unshakable devotion, and a professional with ambitions that stretched far beyond her current reality. At 30 years old, Sierra worked as a phlebotomist, drawing blood for medical testing, an essential role in the healthcare system. But that was just the beginning for her. She had dreams of advancing her career, dreams that required discipline, sacrifice, and perseverance. She had recently celebrated a milestone, her 30th birthday, a time that for many represents reflection, renewal, and new beginnings. And for Sierra, that's exactly what it was. She was preparing to take a bold step forward, enrolling in nursing school to expand her skills and secure a future that would provide stability for herself and her son. Her son, he was the center of her world. At just 6 years old, he had already endured more than most, an autism diagnosis that required patience and understanding, and open-heart surgery, a battle that tested the limits of Sierra's strength as a mother. But she never wavered. She was his protector, his advocate, his unwavering source of love. Every decision she made, every sacrifice, was for him. To anyone who knew her, Sierra was the embodiment of perseverance. She worked long hours, balancing her job with the responsibilities of motherhood. She didn't come from privilege. Everything she had earned. And nothing symbolized that more than her Jeep Wrangler. To most, it was just a vehicle. To Sierra, it was so much more. That Jeep represented years of hard work, late shifts, early mornings, and the determination to provide a better life for her child. It was more than just transportation. It was a reminder of how far she had come, a testament to her resilience. But even the things we cherish most can be taken from us in an instant. Have you ever worked tirelessly for something, only to have it threatened or taken away? For Sierra, that moment came on a night in August 2023, a moment that should have been just another routine part of her day. Instead, it became a nightmare, one that would set the stage for something even more unthinkable. August 2023, a warm summer night in Chicago. Sierra Jamison was pulling into a parking spot, preparing to end another long day. She had done this countless times before: park her Jeep, lock the doors, and head inside. But on this night, something was different. She didn't see him right away. Maybe he was waiting, watching, choosing the perfect moment to strike. As she put her car into park, the sound of footsteps approached. Then suddenly he was there. A stranger. Aggressive. Threatening. The next few seconds were a blur. He yanked at the door, demanding she get out. Her heart pounded. This was it. One wrong move, and everything she had worked for, everything she had built, could be taken away in an instant. But Sierra didn't freeze. She fought back, resisting as the man tried to drag her from the driver's seat. And then voices. Other women nearby saw what was happening and rushed to help. They shouted, creating a commotion, forcing the would-be carjacker to hesitate. And in that moment of hesitation, Sierra broke free. The man fled, disappearing into the night. She was shaken, but she was alive. Days later, Sierra sat down for an interview with CBS 2 reporter Dorothy Tucker. She wanted people to hear her story, not just because of what happened to her, but because of what it represented. Sierra spoke with clarity and purpose. She wasn't just talking about a carjacking. She was talking about something bigger, the constant fear that Black women live with every day. The feeling of being targeted, of being vulnerable, of knowing that when something happens, the world may not be paying attention. She described how terrifying those moments had been, how powerless she felt when a man tried to take from her what she had worked so hard to earn. And she wasn't alone. Too many women knew that fear. Too many women had lived through similar encounters. Some, like her, had survived. Others hadn't been so lucky. Sierra's message was clear. Black women deserve to feel safe. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to live without fear. But what she didn't know, what none of us could have known, was that this story wasn't over. The carjacking was only the beginning. Because just a few weeks later, Sierra Jamison wouldn't be sitting in front of a camera telling her story. She wouldn't be driving her Jeep, picking up her son, or preparing for nursing school. She would be gone. The very violence she had warned about, the very fear she had spoken out against, would become her reality. September 18, 2023. A quiet Monday evening in Chicago. The kind of night that felt routine, normal. Sierra Jamison had spent the day like any other, tending to her responsibilities, caring for her son, moving forward with her plans for the future. As the evening settled in, she spoke with her mother. It was nothing unusual, just a brief exchange before stepping out. "I'm going to park my Jeep," she said. It was a simple statement, the kind you wouldn't think twice about. After all, it was just a short walk, just a few minutes away. But Sierra never returned. At first, there was no immediate panic. Maybe she got caught up talking to a neighbor. Maybe she had something else to take care of before coming back inside. But as the minutes passed, then the hours, an unsettling feeling began to grow. Her phone went unanswered. Messages were left unread. The house remained quiet. Something wasn't right. Her family knew Sierra. She was responsible, always checking in, always making sure her son was cared for. She wouldn't just disappear without a word. As the night stretched on, that quiet unease turned into full-fledged fear. Where was Sierra? Morning came, and there was still no sign of her. Desperation set in. Family members began searching the area, retracing her steps, calling out her name. Then, her mother made the decision to check the garage. Maybe she had fallen. Maybe she was hurt. But nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to find. The garage door creaked open, revealing the dimly lit space inside. At first glance, there was nothing out of the ordinary. But then, something caught her eye. A tarp. Something underneath it. Her heart pounded as she took a step closer, dread settling in her chest. And then she saw her. Sierra. Lifeless. Silent. Hidden away as if her existence could be erased so easily. The reality of what had happened hit like a wave. Sierra wasn't missing. She was gone. The cries that followed shattered the quiet morning air. The kind of cries that come from a place of pure devastation. The kind that no mother should ever have to release. Police were called. The scene was processed. But for Sierra's family, for her son who would never hear his mother's voice again, for the people who had loved her, the damage had already been done. Sierra had spoken out about the dangers that women like her face every day. She had survived one attack, only to fall victim to something far worse. She had gone to park her Jeep, and she never came back. The search for answers didn't take long. And when the truth came out, it wasn't a stranger, a random attacker, or an unknown predator responsible for Sierra Jamison's death. It was someone she knew, someone she had trusted. Lawrence Boyle, a 63-year-old man, someone who had been in Sierra's life for a decade. Not just an acquaintance, but someone close enough to have built a connection with her over the years. And recently, that connection had shifted. In the weeks leading up to her murder, Sierra and Boyle had become romantically involved. To those on the outside, it may have seemed like a new chapter in her life, a chance at companionship. But behind closed doors, something far more sinister was taking shape. Investigators pieced together what happened that night. Boyle had allegedly been waiting for Sierra in the garage. In the darkness, he stood there, knowing she would come. When she finally did, when she stepped into that space, completely unaware of the danger lurking inside, he attacked. There was no argument, no sign of a struggle heard by anyone nearby. He strangled her. No hesitation, no second thoughts. He took her life with his bare hands. And then he covered her body with a tarp, as if she were nothing more than something to be discarded. Days later, when he was taken into custody, the truth became even more disturbing. He confessed. There was no denial, no claims of innocence. But his explanation? "I thought she had a gun," he said. That was his reasoning, his justification for snuffing out Sierra's life. But even after realizing she was unarmed, he didn't stop. He continued. It wasn't fear that fueled his actions. It was something else. Now he sits behind bars, charged with first-degree murder. But the damage has been done. A mother's life stolen. A child left without his protector. A family shattered beyond repair. And for what? The weight of Sierra Jamison's death didn't just settle over her family. It rippled outward, leaving a community in shock, in mourning, and demanding answers. But for one person, the loss was incomprehensible. Her 6-year-old son. Too young to fully grasp what had happened. Too innocent to understand why his mother wasn't coming home. He had already faced so much: autism, open-heart surgery, challenges that no child should have to endure. Through it all, Sierra had been his protector, his constant. Now she was gone. And the one person who gave him unconditional love and security had been ripped away in an act of brutal violence. How do you explain that to a child? How do you tell him that the person who tucked him in at night, the person who worked tirelessly to give him a better life, won't ever walk through that door again? The pain wasn't just his to bear. Sierra's mother, the same woman who had found her daughter's lifeless body, was left with the unimaginable task of holding the family together while grieving an unbearable loss. But Sierra's death didn't just affect those closest to her. It sent a chilling message to the entire community. This was exactly what she had warned about. She had spoken about the dangers Black women face. She had shared her own story, hoping to raise awareness, to make people listen. And yet, weeks later, she became another name on a growing list of victims. Another woman silenced. The community responded. Vigils were held. Candles were lit. People gathered, mourning not just Sierra, but the painful reality of what her death represented. They demanded justice. And justice, in the legal sense, was moving forward. Lawrence Boyle was arrested. The evidence against him was undeniable. He was charged with first-degree murder and is now awaiting his fate in the court system. But for Sierra's family, no sentence, no conviction will bring her back. The real question remains, what now? Sierra's story is not an isolated one. Women, especially Black women, are being targeted, attacked, and killed, often by people they know. And yet, these stories don't always make headlines. These victims don't always get justice. So what can be done? How do we protect women from this kind of violence? The conversation can't end here. It has to continue. Because Sierra Jamison deserved more. And so do the countless women whose stories remain unheard. To understand the depth of the tragedy that befell Sierra Jamison, we must delve into the past of the man accused of taking her life, Lawrence Curtis Boyle. Lawrence Boyle, 63, was not a stranger to the criminal justice system. In 2011, he faced charges for domestic violence and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. These serious offenses painted a troubling picture of a man with a propensity for violence. But the concerns didn't end there. Boyle's criminal record extended to charges of child abuse and breaking and entering. Such a pattern of behavior raises critical questions about the effectiveness of interventions and the safeguards in place to protect potential victims. Examining Boyle's history reveals a consistent pattern of abusive behavior. The recurrence of violent offenses suggests that warning signs may have been present, but perhaps overlooked or inadequately addressed. This pattern underscores the importance of recognizing and acting upon early indicators of violent tendencies to prevent future tragedies. Given Boyle's extensive criminal history, a pressing question arises. Why was he free to potentially harm again? The justice system's role in monitoring and rehabilitating offenders is crucial. In Boyle's case, one might argue that stricter supervision or intervention could have been warranted to prevent further violence. Should violent offenders receive stricter monitoring after release? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As we reflect on the systemic issues highlighted by this case, it's essential to consider the broader implications for community safety and the measures needed to protect individuals from repeat offenders. As the legal proceedings against Lawrence Curtis Boyle unfold, the quest for justice for Sierra Jamison enters a critical phase. Following his arrest, Boyle was charged with first-degree murder in connection with Sierra's death. The prosecution has built a case supported by Boyle's own admissions and his documented history of violence, aiming to establish a pattern of behavior that culminated in this tragic event. In his confession, Boyle claimed he thought Sierra had a gun, but continued the assault after realizing she was unarmed. This assertion may be explored by the defense to mitigate his culpability, potentially arguing a perceived threat that led to an overreaction. However, the continuation of the assault after recognizing she was unarmed challenges the credibility of this defense. Under Illinois law, a conviction for first-degree murder carries severe penalties. The sentencing guidelines stipulate a determinate prison term ranging from 20 to 60 years. If aggravating factors are present, an extended term of 60 to 100 years may be imposed. In certain circumstances, a sentence of natural life imprisonment is applicable. Given Boyle's prior criminal record and the nature of the offense, the prosecution may seek an extended sentence or life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Do you think the justice system will truly deliver justice for Sierra? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As the trial progresses, the community watches closely, yearning for a resolution that honors Sierra's memory and addresses the profound loss experienced by her family and friends. As we reflect on the life of Sierra Jamison, we are reminded of the incredible woman she was, a hardworking mother, a dedicated healthcare professional, and a woman striving for a better future. Sierra devoted her life to caring for others, both professionally as a phlebotomist and personally as a loving mother to her 6-year-old son. Despite the challenges she faced, raising a child with autism who had undergone open-heart surgery, balancing work, and preparing for nursing school, she never gave up. She worked hard for every achievement, including her cherished Jeep Wrangler, a symbol of her perseverance. Sierra was a woman who gave her all, but in the end, the very violence she spoke out about took her away from the people who loved her most. Sierra's case is not just a singular tragedy. It is part of a deeply troubling pattern. Black women face high rates of violence, yet their stories often fail to receive the national attention they deserve. Cases like Sierra's highlight the urgent need for change. How many more women must suffer before society takes real action? How many voices must go unheard? Now, I turn the question to you. What can be done to prevent tragedies like this? How do we ensure that Black women's safety is taken seriously? Let's have this conversation in the comments. Your voice matters. If Sierra's story moved you, if you believe her life and the lives of other women like her deserve recognition, please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to this channel. By spreading awareness, we help keep these stories alive and demand the attention they deserve. Sierra Jamison should be here today. She had dreams, she had a future, and she had a son who needed her. Let's not allow her story to be forgotten.